Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Pleased to be joined by the newest member of the On Texas Football family, my good friend and now co-worker Jeff Howe. We're going to be getting into a discussion about where we believe the Longhorns could be considered elite in the 2025 season. All right, they were elite in a lot of different areas and categories in 2024, and that's why they were part of the Final Four and right there on the doorstep of competing for a national championship. We'll review that and then try to predict and project where this 2025 team could be elite or considered elite. In my opinion, Jeff, elite is top 15. You know, if you're top 15 in any category, I consider you to be elite in college football. Right? I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have a different definition, but to me, top 15 is about it.
That's a good one. Yeah, it's a good place to be.
All right. Before we get into that, let me thank our sponsor, My Athlete 360. Download the My Athlete 360 app today, and your competitive advantage awaits. And we'll give you a special message about My Athlete 360 coming up at the end of this video. All right, Jeff. Last year, Texas, really on defense, was probably elite in almost every major statistical category. I mean, we're talking about explosive plays allowed, pass defense, rush defense, scoring defense, total defense, first downs allowed, third down defense, red zone defense, takeaways, sacks, tackles for loss, interceptions, forced fumbles. You get it. All right. They were elite all across the board everywhere. Offensively, I mean, it's hard to find as many areas where the Texas offense was elite, but they were elite in some areas that mattered the most. The passing offense, they were 14th in the country in passing offense. They also, as we've talked about on Football Theory, they were the most explosive offense, looking at 20-plus yard plays. They're the most explosive offense in the country. And even looking at 10-plus yard plays, they were top 5 in those categories. That's pretty much, if you're looking at elite categories, that's pretty much where it ends with the Texas offense. So we'll talk about, maybe there are some things this season offensively where the Texas offense actually could potentially ascend to an elite level of play. All right, so let's start on defense, though. I think it's easier. This exercise is easier on the defensive side of the ball, Jeff, because there's no doubt I'm just generally pass rush will put Texas elite in a few categories because the pass rush, no doubt, with Colin Simmons. I saw Pro Football Focus recently had Colin Simmons as the best returning edge defender in the country in their ranking of returning edge defenders. Freshman of the year in 2024 had 9 sacks. I think he'll get double-digit sacks, but the pass rush, I think, will put Texas in the elite category in a few different areas.
Yeah, one place where I'd like to see them continue to be elite, Rod, and it's asking a lot. Really, two areas that go hand in hand. You and I have talked for years about how raw statistics can tell you a lot. They don't tell you anything. But if you're really good on third down and you're really good in the red zone, that means two things. One, you're getting off the field on time, which means you're probably not giving up explosive plays. You're probably really good against the run because you're getting teams into unfavorable down and distances on third down. And if you're really good in the red zone, you're keeping teams out of the end zone. I mean, you can allow field goals, and really, touchdown rate allowed is really what we're looking at. But overall, if you're really good, if you're just not allowing scores, it's just turnovers on downs when you're down there, then more often than not, you're getting the job done. So I think if the defense can continue to be elite in those two areas, I don't think it's crazy to expect them to be elite, because you look last year, Rod, third down defense, they were 8th in the country. Red zone defense, they were 3rd in the country. So I don't, even if it's not as good as last year, there's still margin for error, and you can still be elite in both areas.
Yep, I totally agree with you. And because you were actually elite in those areas last year, last season, but the season before that one, 2023. And 2024. Your third down defense in 2023 was also elite. I think you were number 2 in the country, actually. And your red zone defense was actually really good in 2023 as well. So I'm with you. It may be PK has kind of figured out something within the structure of his defense and with his principles intact, that he knows how to coach defense in the red zone and situationally on third down. And I just think when you got a really good pass rush like Texas will have, I agree with you. I think third down defense, they could be really good because that's the NASCAR package. That's when he comes out. And your NASCAR package, I've looked at it. Your third and long defense, you're allowing less than I think it's 17%. I have it at basically rounded up to 18% conversion rate on third and long against that NASCAR package, man. And that's where Colin Simmons was truly weaponized. 7 of his 9 sacks came in that NASCAR package. 5 of Trey Moore's, 6.5 sacks came in that package. That's when they break it out, is third and long, to your point. So they have their own now kind of special recipe on third down. Got to win on first and second, but I'm with you. I think third down is a place where they can still be elite because they've proven it, now through multiple seasons. And next season they'll still have some of those toys available. And I'm with you. I agree on red zone defense, and I'll add to it with sacks. You should also be considered elite. You had 47 sacks last season, which based on Texas's records, that ties the program record from 2008 with 47. And with Colin Simmons now playing a full-time role, and he was your best pass rusher, not in a full-time role, I think you'll be an elite team in sacks as well, with Trey Moore and Ethan Burke and Colin Valsic. And if you're an elite team in sacks, usually tackles for loss, which at the college level is thrown in there. Usually you're probably an elite team there as well. And Texas was this past season. They were one of the top teams in the country at disrupting teams and causing havoc on their side of the ball. So I'm going to say I'm with you. I'll go third down defense with you. I agree with that. I think you're right about the red zone defense. I'll throw sacks and tackles for loss on there too.
The one that I'm not sure, Rod, is turnovers. Now, Texas last year, only one defense in the country forced more turnovers than Texas, and that was Notre Dame. Notre Dame forced 33 in 16 games. Mm-hmm. Texas had forced in 16 games. Texas forced 31. But I say that, but looking at last year, 25 turnovers forced was the benchmark for you to get into the top 15. So while it's tough to assume this defense is going to force 30-plus turnovers again, 25 turnovers it's not that scary of a number to think about. Oh my gosh, that's really hard to achieve. You're thinking, okay, that's 8 fewer turnovers than you forced last year, but you can still do that and be elite. So that's what I think. You still got some margin for error there. I'm not expecting them to force as many turnovers. I'm just not going to bank on that being something Texas is going to be elite in, because there's a lot of things that go into forcing turnovers.
Totally agree with you, Jeff. And because I think this is, when you have the ability to create pressure organically, which Texas is going to be able to do, right? That's without blitzing. And they did it last year, right? They were one of the lowest blitz rates in the country. They were like bottom 15 blitz rate in the country. Texas did not blitz a ton. And I think when you can create organic pressure, I think it opens up a lot of different elements of your defense, potentially, a lot of different threats of your defense. And for Texas, it could be, and I'm with you, they could end up with a lot of turnovers off of batted passes and errant throws and quarterbacks under duress making bad decisions, where they may not have a Jahdae Barron and a Andrew Makuba back there who are making plays, in my opinion, that are advanced plays in the secondary because their eyes are veteran eyes. They're very disciplined eyes. It may just be because the pressure is so dynamic that it's forcing the opposing team to just make a lot of mistakes. And you get more forced fumbles. I remember, Colin Simmons had, I believe all of his forced fumbles. So I think he had like 3 forced fumbles, something like that. Maybe even more than that, actually. They were in the NASCAR package on those third and long situations. So my point is, so the turnovers, they may get to a number that maybe is close to last year, ideally, if the pass rush is that good, but it won't be because, in my opinion, because of the guys in the secondary who are like forcing those takeaways. I think it'll be because the pressure is forcing the quarterbacks and opposing offenses to making some critical mistakes and errors.
I hope the sack numbers are there, because I don't want Sark to have to answer a question after 3 games. Well, coach, the sack numbers aren't there. You only got 4 sacks in 3 games. Well, but if you're winning games and you're really good on third down and in the red zone and you're forcing some turnovers, I don't care what your sack numbers are at that point. Like, you just got to look at it. It's all about context at that point, right? Like, you may not have the sack numbers. Now, I think Texas will, but even if they don't, that probably means then that they're successful in some other area. Like, they're going to generate pressure. I don't foresee games where this defense is just going to not be able to create pressure.
And that may help the pass defense. Listen, I'm a little worried about the pass defense because you're losing, Makuba and you're losing Jadae Barron, but still got Taft back there who's an All-American caliber player and who's going to be the corner opposite Malik Muhammad. But I remember starting my first year at Texas as a sophomore, true sophomore, and I had a Casey Hampton and a Sean Rogers on the defense line. We had the best pass defense in the country that year. And we had the best, I believe we had the best pass efficiency defense in the country and the best pass defense. And it wasn't because Rod B was balling out of control. Listen, I played really well for a young player, but it's because I didn't have to cover for more than maybe 3 seconds max before I knew the quarterback was running for his life and under duress and was going to have to make a throw, but have to make it under pressure. It wasn't going to be an accurate throw. He was going to be throwing that ball, like just kind of throwing it up a lot of the time just to get it out of his hands before Casey Hampton and Sean Rogers collapsed the pocket. Yeah. I think it can be true in this sense that secondary may not be as sticky in coverage, but it may not matter if they're smart enough to understand, listen, Colin Simmons and Trey Moore are going to get there within 3 seconds. I just got to make sure I cover the route tree till then pretty much. Because the quarterback ain't, as long as I don't give the quarterback easy outs, he ain't going to be able to get a lot of footballs down the field in the intermediate to deep area of the field accurately.
Yeah. The other thing, Rod, where I think they've got a chance to be elite because, if your pass rush is that good, like you said, it should help your pass defense. And with Arch Manning, you're going to presumably take more vertical shots. Your explosive play margin should be elite. Now, will you lead the country in explosive plays?
That's interesting.
That's a tall order, but I think you've got a chance for your explosive play margin to be elite, or at least be, in the top 15 of the most explosive plays. Because I think part of that's Arch, part of that's the nature of Sark's offense. But then I don't think you're going to give up as many explosives.
I haven't done the math, and I guess it's worth probably doing. Maybe we can do it. I can do it for Football Theory for us coming up one of these weeks, but. Texas had to lead the country in explosive play margin, right? Had to.
I would think, if you're leading the country, if you're allowing the fewest explosive plays, not the most explosive plays.
They had to.
Yeah.
They had to. It's I just off the top of my head, it's like, yeah, there's no doubt. So to your point, that maybe they could be there again. Because listen, okay, let's jump to the offensive side of things. Because I know we spent a lot of time on defense there, but defense was just really easy. To your point, I do agree with you. I think if you're looking at where Texas could be elite, maybe it is deep, but hopefully it's deep ball like efficiency period. Yeah. But I do believe your deep ball rate, meaning the rate of deep passes you throw 20 yards or more down the field, will increase because we know Arch digs the long ball. He does, right? Chicks dig the long ball, but so does Arch. And I went and looked at his deep ball rate for 2024. Dude, he's over 21%. Do you remember when Michael Penix led the country? Like he was one of the national leaders in deep ball rate when Texas played him, and he was at 21%. And they were talking about how it was just so absurd, to have that high of a deep ball rate. That's where Arch is. Mm-hmm. Go look at his yards per attempt. He was at 10.4. You know that Jackson Dart led the country in yards per attempt at 10.8. I mean, he likes to get the ball down the field. So to your point, I think that's actually one of the areas where you may lead the country. And just now, maybe Arch has got to learn how to take the check down. But I do think he's going to throw it deep more. And hell, you may be one of the national leaders in chunking the ball downfield when it's all said and done.
Yeah, where I don't necessarily need Texas to be elite, but they got to be better. Your turnover margin was garbage because you turned the ball over 26 times. In 16 games.
Hey, you were elite there, but not elite, but just really bad. You were top 15 in turnovers.
elite in your ineptitude is what you were for Texas last year. But if you cut that in half, Rod, and let's say they only turned it over 13 times in 2025, you're borderline elite. That would have been good enough to be top 25 in the country last year.
Yeah, good point. And then you probably got an SEC title on your hands, and who knows where you are at that point? Yeah,
I do. It's interesting though. Like with Sark's offense, it's never going to be conservative, right?
No,
it's just not the way Sark operates. So you almost think, okay, if you're taking more chances, you're putting the ball at risk. Maybe that does put you at a risk for more turnovers. But I think overall ball security, I think ball security by your running backs should be improved.
Yeah.
And plus Trey Weisner got better with that as the year went on.
He was trustworthy. Yes.
And, I think Arch's escapability will allow him. He'll be less vulnerable to fumbles, I think, than Quinn was, just because of his ability to make things happen after the play. When he feels pressure, he can bail out and extend plays with his legs, whereas Quinn couldn't do that as easily as Arch is going to be able to, or at the rate Arch is going to be able to. So, like I said, I don't. Is it crazy for me to think they could cut their turnovers in half? Go from 26 to 13?
Oh, that's crazy to think that, because you had a third-year starting quarterback, right? Yeah. In that system, veterans on the offensive line, a veteran at quarterback, and you were one of the worst teams in college football at turnovers, and yet now the belief is that they'll improve with a first-time not starter, or at least first year as a starter, and a inexperienced offensive line. But I understand the theory that you're bringing up is that he can escape. That's why I said your sack numbers may drop, even though you got 4 new starters on the line, because of sack avoidance of Arch Manning that you didn't have with Quinn. So I'm with you. I think that's possible. That is possible. I would say for me, because I think the deep ball rate is going to increase. Arch is going to throw the deep ball. I would say that the explosive plays, like 20-plus yard gains for Texas, I know it sounds kind of crazy, but that's another area where they may have a chance to be elite again. The real reason I say that is, do you realize this is the journey Texas has taken in explosive play since Sark got here at Texas? They were 71st when he first got here, first year. They were 30th his second year. They were 10th his third year, and they were first last year. It's been a steady improvement. And we are so close to it. We're thinking, hey man, they got to work on this. They got to work on this and this and this and this. And one of the things that they've gotten better at every year on offense, and I can't think of anything on offense they've gotten better at every year. Like every year, this improves every year. It's gotten better every year.
Yeah,
maybe overall passing game that it got better every year, but for the most part, the offense is good at something one year, and then maybe it's not good there because it's a different complexion, different team, different identity. But explosive plays, no matter how the supporting cast has looked, they got better every year. That's Stark's system, in my opinion. Yeah. That's a lot of that is how his system works. And I think it may work like that again, especially now with a dual threat quarterback at your disposal, and also a quarterback who's been in the system. He's not a starter in the system, but he has been in the system, and he has, and I think he has an affinity for the deep ball.
Here's why I'm confident in the low turnovers with Arch. If you look at the games he played, Texas had 2 turnovers against UTSA. Arch wasn't responsible for either of those. One was a fumble, I think by Jarrett Gibson, and then Quinn had an interception early in that game before he came out.
Yeah.
Against ULM, Arch's first start, he threw 2 picks because he even admitted after the fact, and we've heard it saying, he said it on the Marty Smith interview. He said it, when we talked to him, media talked to him at the Peach Bowl, whenever Arch has been available, he's talked about it. He got too greedy with the deep ball.
Yeah.
And from one game to the next against Mississippi State, no picks. Took care of the football. Your 2 turnovers were fumbles late in the game when you were trying to add on to the score. Arch was more efficient. It just one game he made that switch flipped, right? It wasn't like it was a prolonged process where he had to learn. He's like, nope, I was too greedy. I got to take what the defense gives me. So that tells me, like, if he can do that, if he can make that really in his first extensive action from one game to the next, recognize that and then switch it up, I've got confidence that he can do that over a whole season and be really good with it. Not to say he's a young quarterback. There's going to be times where he struggles. There's going to be times where he turns it over.
He's a product too.
Arch seems like a quick study based on that example where he can flip it real quick and be like, nope, not doing that again. Let's change it up.
Yeah, I'm with you. I said he's a prodigy. So I agree with you. I can see that happening him in real time because he's been in this system so long too. Him being able to learn and process that real time and then make the necessary adjustments. And he's a Manning, for goodness sake. He's getting the best coaching anybody can get, not only from Sark, but from his family members.
That's key though. What you said though, he's been in this system. This is year 3 in the system.
It is.
So even if he's experiencing something on the field for the first time, his knowledge of the system should be at the point where the light bulb goes off, where he says, "Oh, that's why we do it this way."
No, I'm with you. I didn't have that, but I agree with you actually. Now you made a great case. You convinced me. I wasn't initially on board, but you convinced me. Well done. And to your point, Pro Football Focus, to take it obviously with a grain of salt, they had him last year at an 88 grade overall. They ranked 13th among quarterbacks who played at least 200 snaps, and he was 16th in big time throwaway. His turnover worthy play rate, this is what I was looking for, 1.9%. So he was top 16 in turnover worthy play rate. So to your point, made good decisions with the football. So also the Manning fact, because I think just like a pass rush, it just opens up so many possibilities for your defense. You can do so many different things when you've got an organic, natural pass rush. When you got a quarterback that can move around, it does open up a lot of possibilities. And to your point, I like what you said. And I'll say this: is it possible that with his presence, we talked about the deep ball and explosive plays, but the red zone offense improves?
It should improve. I mean, it
Can
can
improve, but can it be elite? And that's the conversation we're having. Can it be? And this is why I throw this out there, elite, because we know with the red zone offense, we know how it was elite, by the way, when he first got here. You were top 5 in the country. Red zone offense and touchdown precision in the red zone. Next year in 2022, you're top 20 in the red zone offense, 65th in touchdown percentage. In 2023, 90th in red zone offense, 120th in touchdown percentage. Last year, 101st in red zone offense, 54th in touchdown percentage. Everybody by now knows my theory, the post-Bijan Rojo hangover, which, by the way, has been confirmed by Sark. That ain't all of it, but that was just a little piece of it. Is it possible now with this reinvention of the Sark offense with Arch? You got a dual threat quarterback, so you gotta change the math. They gotta account for that. Bigger receivers on the outside now.
Yeah, true.
You have bigger receivers with Wingo and maybe a Parker Livingstone. Bigger guys out there. Also, I think the running game could have more variety. Maybe not early on, but by the time Baxter gets healthy, and then you'll have Jared Gibson who can run some of your power concepts, Baby Rhino, and have your Trey Weisner who can run some of the outside zone concepts, and have, not that everybody's going to be specialized, but you'll just have more variety. Could you find? I've talked about you need a back in the red zone that can run violently downhill. All right, yeah. There's a certain type of twitchy violence you need in the red zone. The Judkins, the running back from Ohio State, he's got it. He's just like that guy's too twitchy and violent. You're not stopping him in the red zone. Texas had that with Rojo and Bijan. Too twitchy, they twitchy and violent. You're not stopping him in the red zone. Sorry, I don't give a damn how good you are. You're not stopping those kind of players when you have that kind of short yardage or in that constricted area. Is it possible? Combination of things: scrambling ability, dual threat ability, variety in the running game, bigger receivers that you could go back to being an elite team in the red zone. Is Arch that much of an impact factor?
I'll start by paying compliments to one of your former teammates, Rod, because one of the best, to your point, and Texas fans, you can go, if you're not old enough to remember, you can go pull up the YouTube clips as soon as you get done watching this video. The late great Cedric Benson was one of the best goal line red zone runners I've ever seen.
Good Lord.
One of the best collegiate goal line red zone runners ever.
Yeah.
The numbers back that up and the eye test backs that up. Cedric Benson was awesome goal line and red zone.
Sure. Agreed. Yep.
It's going to be better if nothing else, because of the run threat of Arch. Arch doesn't even have to run the football.
Nope, don't have to.
You have to respect. I've said this a lot this offseason. You have to respect the extra hat in the run game. You have to account for it, because the one time you don't, if Sark picks up on that, that's when he calls it naked, and there ain't going to be anybody within 10 yards of Arch, and he's walking into the end zone for a touchdown. So you got to respect the threat, the potential of the quarterback run. I think it's going to open up a lot for you in the red zone. Will you be elite? I'm not ready to go that far. I talked you into turnovers, Rod. You made a very convincing argument for red zone. I'm not ready to say elite, but you should be. You can't be worse than you were last year. It's got to be better. But I'm not quite ready to say elite. Now, I'll say this. Or maybe not elite in terms of nationally, but by the time you get to SEC play, by the time Sark has really figured out through that non-con schedule what's going to work with Arch in the red zone, what you can hang your hat on, I think if you look at the totality of it, after your 8 SEC games, are you elite in terms of, are you leading the conference? Are you top 2, 3 in the conference, in that top quarter in the conference in red zone offense and red zone touchdown rate? Because if you are, then that's going to put you in the discussion to be elite nationally. So I just want the red zone offense to take an upward trajectory. Remember last year, they started off hot in the red zone.
Last year, they started off as an elite team in the red zone. Yeah. They were elite for like the first 3-4 games. Basically, yeah, they were elite. And it
was like the roller coaster. Boom, it had a drop. I just want to keep making that upward. I want to be like, what's that game, the cliffhanger game on The Price is Right, where the guy just keeps trending uphill. I don't want him to fall off that cliff. Just and let me win the prize, right? So that's what I want the red zone offense to do, Rod. I just want it to get on a nice trajectory. Just keep. We need to see signs like at various mile markers during the year. We need to be like, let's look at. Oh, hey, not bad. They're keeping the pace going.
Yeah, that's like that's a pie in the sky idea for me, but it's just so weird. Like I said, 2021 got here, they're top 5. Yeah. And then now they've been one of the worst red zone offenses out there. All right, a couple of things before we end it here. One other thing, 4th down offense. I do think, especially if your field goal kicking isn't trustworthy next season, Sark may be going for 1 4th down. A dual threat quarterback does help your 4th down. And Sark is really innovative in 4th down creativity, right? Snap through the legs, stuff like that, ending arounds. That's one of those sneaky areas where Texas could be elite next year with a dual threat quarterback like Arch. Just throwing it out there. 4th down.
I'll say this about 4th down. I'm with you on that. You don't have to convince me on that. I'm with you because I looked at it. They were tied for 41st in the country in 4th down offense. I assumed off the top of my head they'd be better. 4th down could be one of those sneaky ones, Rod, because you could have games where, especially your non-conference schedule, where you're blowing somebody out.
That's true.
And it's late, like, hey, we just need to get Trey Owens some work. Yeah, let's go for it on this 4th and 4 or whatever. We want to kick a field goal. Let's go for it. And you don't make it. At that point, it doesn't matter. But it's still going to ding you in your 4th down percentage.
That's fair.
So I just everybody should keep that in mind when you're looking at 4th down. Like, oh man, they missed 3 4th down conversions. Like, yeah, but those 3 didn't matter at all. Like they were inconsequential.
No, it's a good point. All right, and last here, is it possible with the addition of, I always mess up his name. Is it Boomeister? Bowmeister?
Oh, Bowmeister.
Bowmeister. Thank you very much. I mean to disrespect him. Could they be an elite punting team? I mean, the kid, he can punt now. If the Gunners are elite.
Boom.
Okay.
Boom.
Because he had 13 of his 60 punts went for 50 plus yards. He had 9 that landed inside the 20. He averaged damn near 45 yards per punt, but you're right. It's a collaboration. All right. It's got to work with the Gunners too. So that's another area, just throwing it out there.
You were 111th this last season. Again, tip of the cap to the defense because they had terrible field position to work with most of the year. They were up against it. But with Ryan Sanborn and 2 elite gunners with Keelan Robinson and Keaton Crawford, you were right there. You were 16th in the country in net punting in 2023.
Oh, there you go. Come on,
right there.
It's possible if you get some elite gunners. Good stuff there. All right, let's thank our friends over at My Athlete 360 before we end our video. Folks, the future of youth sports is here, finally upon us, and early adopters are already winning. For coaches and trainers alike, My Athlete 360 is your gateway to growth for yourself and the organizations you represent. Showcase your expertise and connect directly with families actively seeking your skills, all without expensive marketing costs. For parents, we bring trusted athletic opportunities right to your fingertips with customizable filters for age, sport type, and budget that will match your child with the perfect coach or trainer. Whether you're a coach building a thriving business or a volunteer coach looking to bring new kids to your youth organization or a parent seeking quality training, My Athlete 360 makes the connection simple and secure. Don't miss out on the platform that's revolutionizing youth sports development. Download the My Athlete 360 app today, and your competitive advantage awaits. That's My Athlete 360. Download My Athlete 360, or you can scan that QR code right there for My Athlete 360 and get your competitive advantage there. So thank you very much to My Athlete 360 for sponsoring our breakdown here on Texas Football. And thank you very much to you, Jeff. Great stuff as always. Always leave here smarter football man because of your great knowledge and expertise. Thank you to Matthew behind the scenes, always doing a great job. He's the real MVP. And thank you to you guys out there all for watching and for listening. And for next time, for Jeff and for Matthew, I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Hook 'em horns.